The county's comprehensive plan designates development areas and a rural area. On maps, you'll sometimes see the rural area shown like this, as a plain white area that looks all the same. But the county's rural landscape is a big area, 690 square miles, with a lot of important features. So today, we'll flip the map and look at the rural area in detail. We'll go over some of the features that make the rural area important to our community, the county's goals for the rural area and the planning we employ to meet those goals, and strategies to conserve land in the rural area. Albemarle County's rural area is a large and diverse landscape with many important features. In this part, we'll review several of its important aspects. This map shows the variety of land cover through the rural area. The dark green areas show that the largest land cover category in the rural area is forest. But a small map like this obscures a lot of important details and might suggest that the rural area is mostly large, uninterrupted forested land. But when you zoom in, you can see that many of our wooded areas are fragmented by roads and development. There are large forest patches, but there are also many small patches, and patches broken up into multiple ownerships. These patterns make it challenging to protect rural land uses, water quality, and habitat. Over 65% of the rural area has soils that are particularly important to agriculture. These soils are critical resources for local food production. Nearly the entire rural area has soils recognized for their importance to timber production. The Comprehensive Plan, which is a visionary document that guides our county, designates over 18% of the rural area as mountain protection areas. This designation recognizes how the county's mountains protect water quality and wildlife habitat, as well as contribute to the scenic landscape. Nearly all of the water supplying the county's development areas, the city of Charlottesville, and the town of Scottsville, comes from the rural area. Rural residents and farms depend on the surrounding landscape for the groundwater that supplies their wells. The watersheds that flow to public water supplies are situated in nearly half of the rural area. Another important aspect of the rural area is historic resources. 31% of the rural area is included in historic districts listed in the National Register of Historic Places that recognize the significance of our rural historic sites and landscapes. It is also important to recognize the significance of scenic features, including landforms, forests, waterways, agricultural landscapes, and dark skies, which contribute to the character of the county. Biodiversity is an important feature of the rural area. The rural area is home to a wide variety of wildlife and natural systems. And while there is important biodiversity throughout the county, Albemarle County's Biodiversity Action Plan identifies some focus areas so that we can prioritize our protection efforts. In recent years, the number of county farms listed in the Federal Census of Agriculture has held relatively steady. That census shows that active farms are still a significant portion of the county's rural landscape. In the last agricultural census year, Albemarle's farms sold $43 million worth of products. The county ranked second in the state for fruit production and ninth in the state for horses, ponies, mules, burros, and donkeys. 94% of the county's farms are owned by local farm families. There is a fairly steady rate of forest harvest operations in the county each year. Another way of showing the extent of rural land uses in the rural area is to map properties that are under use value taxation. This map shows that properties involved in agriculture, forestry, and open space protection are found throughout the rural area. We have been planning for the rural area for over 50 years. In 1971, in the county's first comprehensive plan, the Board of Supervisors added some important rural policies before adopting the plan. The agriculture objective addressed the importance of preventing residential, commercial, and industrial development of rural land. And the conservation objective called for the protection of agriculture uses, natural resources, and the natural, scenic, and historic beauty of the rural landscape. Every comprehensive plan since then, including the adopted 2015 plan, has maintained and built on those original rural area policies. Protecting the rural area also conserves the county's financial resources. Providing water, sewer, roads, and emergency services for suburban levels of development across the rural area would greatly increase costs to the county. That's why the growth management policy has consistently focused on supporting development in the development areas. The 2015 Comprehensive Plan includes objectives that support the protection of a strong agricultural and forestal economy, natural resources, cultural resources, and rural and historic landscapes. It's important to note that over the years, community surveys have shown strong support for protecting the county's rural area. Before 1980, the county's rural lands were zoned for unlimited development of 2-acre lots. This made the conversion of rural lands to low density suburban residential development relatively easy. In 1980, the entire county was rezoned into the categories we have today. In the rural area, due to the concerns about water quality impacts of rural development, the base lot size was raised from 2 acres to 21 acres. But at the same time, each existing parcel was given 5 development rights for lots as small as 2 acres. This rezoning created a two-tier pattern of small and large residential lots in the rural area. This still leads to significant fragmentation of rural land and doesn't support rural land uses or conservation. The comprehensive plan says that residential development should be directed to the development areas. Comparing just single family detached dwellings, this graph shows that a significant proportion of new units are still being built in the rural area despite the county's policies. In recent years, attached housing, such as townhomes and condominiums, in the development areas have increased and replaced the single family detached home as the most prevalent new dwelling unit type built. However, in the rural area, single family detached homes continue to be constructed at a relatively steady rate. About 12.9% of the rural area has been converted to residential and other non rural uses. This kind of land use conversion is usually considered to be permanent. Conservation easements are our best tools for resource protection. They're a voluntary form of permanent land conservation where landowners and easement holders agree to development limits and resource protections. Through the efforts of county landowners and a variety of conservation easement holders, about 25.5% of the rural area has been protected by conservation easement. There are also other tools that help with protecting the rural area, including agricultural forestal districts and open space use agreements, although these are not permanent like conservation easements. To conclude, the rural area is a landscape that is important to Albemarle County for supporting agriculture and forestry, providing clean water to the whole community, supporting healthy ecosystems, and protecting scenic landscapes and historic resources. Albemarle County has been planning for rural area protection for over 50 years. Voluntary conservation efforts have protected about a quarter of the rural area, but fairly steady rate of development has converted about an eighth of the rural area to non-rural uses. This means that the future of more than half the rural area is undecided. The future of this rural land is a major focus of the comprehensive plan and the county's conservation programs. How will we retain what's important about the rural area? That depends on how we deal with the increasing ease and attractiveness of living on rural land. Retaining rural land use patterns in the face of these pressures will depend on successful conservation efforts. Thanks for your interest in the rural area. To learn more about the county's conservation program and our programs associated with environmental stewardship, Please use the QR codes on the screen or visit the show notes for links.